So in my trauma, I experienced a lot of fear, and I wasn't aware that perfect love drives out fear, and that God is that perfect love. And so my parents were very loving, but my dad struggled with drug and alcohol use, and my mom had epilepsy and would usually have a few seizures a month. And when I was 7 years old, there was a homicide that happened in front of our home in California. And nobody ever talked about any of this stuff, so I probably had fear as my nearest emotion. And from that time, about age 7 until I was preteen, I ended up being inappropriately touched by multiple different people. And when I was finally brave enough to tell my parents about it, they were pretty angry about the situation. But their anger outweighed the need to provide comfort for their daughter, and so the whole thing was dealt with pretty shallowly. And around that time, I kind of noticed that I was a lot different from my friends. I was very insecure and very vulnerable and quite a people pleaser, and I just wanted to fit in with them. And so I started doing the same things as them and got into partying and drinking and inappropriate relationships with boys. So Nathan and I started dating off and on in high school, but we were definitely not what you would call high school sweethearts. The thing that we probably had most in common was that we really liked to party, and we married young and still really liked to party. And the final straw for me was that we had gone to the bar one evening and we were invited to an after bar party, and I was still quite a people pleaser at this time. And so there was a gal who I thought had an issue with me, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity if I rode to the after bar party with her. And so that's what I did. And when I got there, my husband was nowhere to be found, and I was having trouble staying awake. And through an elusive phone call, I found out that he was at a different after bar party. And so when my ride was leaving, I made sure that I got a ride with the gal to where my husband was at. And the next morning, I just remember feeling irresponsible and foolish for having been with a bunch of people that I really didn't know. But it caused me to completely give up drinking, and over the next 5 years, I was greatly humbled. And meanwhile, my husband continued to drink and really became an alcoholic. So by the end of 2012, I started to notice that my marriage was falling apart. Although we had our 3 children by this point, I knew that something needed to change, and I just knew that there had to be something more to life. And so I started questioning my mom, and I would cry out to my mom, and she would point me to Jesus every single time. And her faith in him had really grown since my dad's death. And so in January of 2013, I went to a church service with my mom, and there was an elderly woman that was preaching, and it was my first time listening to a woman preach, and so my heart and ears were just cued in just a little bit more than usual. And I remember her quoting Philippians 4:13, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." And she also said that we should be very familiar with that verse. And I thought, as many times as I sat in the church pews, that verse was very unfamiliar to me. But it changed my life in a dramatic way, and I started reading the Bible passionately and praying fervently. And my kids and I would hit our knees every single night praying that their dad would come to faith. And I would lean into 1 Corinthians 7, saying that the Christians should stay with their unbelieving spouse in the hopes that they might come to faith for God's glory. And so I did that, and my husband would call me a Bible beater and a Jesus freak and tell me that I was as crazy as my mom, which was probably true and is still true. But by August of 2013, he went in for a doctor's appointment and was diagnosed with diabetes. And he completely gave up drinking and started coming to church with us. And his faith in Jesus just grew so quickly after that. And it was just so awesome to be able to see this miracle right before our eyes. And the kids knew exactly what was happening. As we first became Christians, a verse that really spoke to me was from 3 John 1:4 that says, "I have no greater joy than to hear my children walking in the truth." And that verse was and still is so important to me, because we got to see that generational curse of alcoholism be broke. And now this generation, our kids, and hopefully the generations to come in our family, following Christ for His glory. And so I think it's super important to pursue a relationship with Christ and to lean into Him, and to know and understand that He washes away all that fear when we surrender to Him. So 1 Peter 3:15 is another one that means so much, that we should want to share the reason for hope in us. So we should want to share our stories with others, and most importantly, share Jesus with others for His glory.